Hello there, everyone. Welcome to the Locked On Cavs podcast, your daily look at the Cleveland Cavaliers. On today's show, what else are to talk about? It's talking about Cavs Nets, what went wrong for Cleveland in the play-in game, where they go from here, the performance of Darius Garland, and who the Cavs would perhaps rather like to face come Friday. That's all on today's show, so let's get into it.
Cavs need a three. Sexton works on Irving, trying to get loose. He'll fire. Hey! Knocks it down! Ground. Here goes Okoro to the bucket, and oh my! Okoro throws it down. 10 seconds to go. Here comes Colin Sexton. Sexton chased by Hill. Off to Stevens. Oh my! 45 ticks to go. That shot is blocked by Nance.
Get that big stuff out of here.
Prince knocks down that Harden pass. Garland's there. Garland upstairs for Allen. Oh, look out!
There you go. That's called team ball right there.
All right, I'm Chris Manning. That's Evan Dermal. We are the Locked On Cavs podcast.
What's poppin'? Brand new whip. Just bought it. I don't know.
Just copped it.
Just copped it.
I can't wrap breath.
Every time I say what's poppin', Chris replies to that if you're a first time listener.
Big Jack Harlow guy, honestly.
Me too.
Okay, anyway, that may also be the last time if you're watching on YouTube or listening, on audio. We have a new intro coming very soon that I very much am excited about, and we just need to get a part of it made, and it's going to be cool. A little locally sourced podcast intro. But Cavs Nets, Cavs lose 115-108. Evan, the first quarter is where I think we have to start here. So the format of the show is going to be talking about the game as a whole, kind of the first two segments. A lot about Darius Garland, kind of into that and into the third. And then finishing with who would the Cavs perhaps rather like to play come Friday night in Cleveland when they'll be hosting the second play-in game at the same time as the Guardians home opener is happening right across the way. So, Evan, the first quarter felt like a game. And I think the first half overall, because the Nets were dreadful in the second quarter, felt like a game where the Cavs were kind of in it still, but really didn't feel competitive to me. They lose the first quarter 40-20. They win the second quarter 23-17, and it almost felt like a game where they kind of should have been lucky to be down 25. They didn't feel sharp. They didn't feel like a lot of guys on this team to me did not feel particularly comfortable. One guy in particular, that's Darius Garland, did. I think Evan Mobley did for the most part as well. But they came out really flat, did not look good, and it was, even though they statistically won every other quarter the rest of the way and played the Nets pretty even the rest of the way. According to quick math here, +6, +8, plus 13 over the last three quarters, that didn't matter because Brooklyn just thoroughly cooked them in the first quarter.
Yeah, they really did. I think they shot 71% from the floor in the first quarter, which is it's damn near, like JB Bickerstaff said post-game, it's damn near impossible to kind of claw back from that. And the Cavs, for the most part, give them credit, did in the second, third, and fourth. They won all three quarters. There's no moral victories, though. I just think that first quarter just widened the gap so much, and the Cavs are just kind of playing catch-up the entire time. And you're watching Bruce Brown, Nick Claxton, Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, Goran Dragic punching Darius Garland in the nuts. There's a lot of just hits the Nets kept giving to the Cavs. Every time they came close, they just punch them in the mouth again or in the nuts, and then just keep moving forward. And that's just kind of unfortunately the reality of the situation. And credit where credit's due, though. The Cavs hung tough with this Nets team. They were dreadful in the second, but they also have one of the greatest scorers, if not the greatest scorer of all time, and arguably one of the best players in Cavs history on their team. So credit where credit's due. The Cavs played well for what it's worth.
I think well is perhaps a little bit kind for me. I think the execution was needed to be an A. I don't think it was. I think you got a lot of pretty dreadful performances from a lot of guys. Okoro was bad. LeVert was bad.
Okoro was a non-factor.
Marketing was bad.
Marketing was awful defensively. Marketing kind of turned it around a little bit in the fourth quarter, making a couple 3-pointers, and he actually played to his size a little bit. I'll disagree with you on a little bit. I'll disagree with you a little bit on Markkanen's impact, just if you include the fourth quarter. But defensively, The Nets hunted him.
Shredded.
He shredded. He's the weakest link. The Cavs are trying to employ that 2-2-1 zone that we talked about, their Locked On Nets crossover, where they kind of use Mobley as the fulcrum piece, whether it be in the paint or on the perimeter, and it got cooked. I think Jared Allen is really a necessity for this Cavs team as well, but I thought they did okay. The Nets really felt like the Cavs fought back and they grinded the Nets a little bit, and I think there is something encouraging to see in those three quarters. If you just remove the first, which you obviously can't overall, but if you just focus on those three, there's some encouraging signs there.
Yeah, I think I think I come out of this a little more tempered. I think I look at what happened.
I'm gonna make your heart grow 3 sizes before this show's over.
You can try, but I look at some of just what was left on the table. I think LeVert left a ton on the table. Had
He
7
stunk.
assists, but missing a bunch of shots. Had a very, very bad turnover in transition once at a key point in this game where he just didn't see the guy defending Darius in the corner until he'd already thrown the pass. That was just kind of inexplicable. This is like the worst case scenario for Okoro, just an utter non-factor. I mean, Kyrie is going to do Kyrie, and he didn't even really stop him from getting to his spots in this game in any way. Utterly a non-factor on offense. Him and Lamar Stevens, who have played a lot of minutes of late, who have shot better from 3 statistically down the stretch of the season, play a combined 20 minutes in this one. Rajon Rondo, who is not played a ton necessarily due to injury with this team, ends up closing the game for Cleveland. Jetty Osman's in this game late. There's lineups that I think just don't feel like the kind of DNA of what the Cavs do defensively. They were just all over the place. Look, Brooklyn's going to do that too. Brooklyn is going to poke at some of those things with you. It just didn't feel overall, even with the success, after the first quarter, this didn't feel to me like an Cleveland effort. And there's a lot of reasons for that. We can, again, cite the injuries. We can cite all of that.
Yeah, give it a B.
Yeah, you don't get good performances from LeVert.
B minus C plus.
The guy that. It's like a C for me. I think you had some good performances from one guys, a lot of dreadful ones from other ones, and the execution. Even I think the strategy of what they kind of were trying to do made a lot of sense to some degree in certain spots. At least you just didn't get good performances, and that's just kind of had answers for you down the stretch when you got down to 6 points and just we're okay, we're gonna be able to kind of pull some of this out and do some stuff. And there were some tactical mistakes too. I think I think not going at Kyrie, if you get Karis LeVert to help you make buckets, and I understand he didn't have a great game, and we've already hit on that, but Kyrie had 5 fouls at one point. You should be picking on Kyrie more aggressively at that point.
Especially
Darius
Kyrie Irving, who's trying in transition defense, who could easily be baited into a foul.
Yeah, you gotta go. I think hit on all those structural advantages as you can, and there's again a lot that I think worked. I think getting Bruce Brown to take 19 shots is more than KD, more than Kyrie is a win for you in a lot of ways. It just didn't feel like an Cleveland effort in a lot of ways. I mean, it felt kind of lacking in some of these spots.
Yeah, it really did feel lacking at times. I think what I'm saying is encouraging is also an example of too little too late at times for the Cavs too, where like I said, they would claw back in this one and then insert a player on the Nets here would punch them back down a little bit and just re-widen the gap. So it was the Cavs playing catch up this entire time. I think the individual performances, especially Darius Garland, who if we had to give out awards for this game, he's the clear-cut MVP. I think Evan Mobley deserves a little credit too because he looked a little phased a little bit in the first quarter, but then really seemed to settle down throughout the rest of the game. He played really good defense on Kevin Durant, but Kevin Durant just made a crazy pull-up fadeaway over him, and I'm just like, man, how do you defend that any better? And you can't, though, because Kevin Durant just is a 7-footer with the abilities of a guard, which is just an absolutely absurd player to kind of comprehend. It's a 2K player, but we'll see what happens on Friday. I think the advantage Cleveland gets in this one more than anything is they get an extra day of rest versus whoever wins tomorrow's game between Atlanta and Charlotte, and that might be beneficial. And I think maybe the energy in Cleveland, either it's going to cause the Cavs to cave in on themselves in just dramatic, spectacular fashion, or the crowd is going to be so electric because of the Guardians opener and because it's a playoff basketball game in Cleveland for the first time in forever, that they might be able to ride this wave and then head down to Miami and maybe play them on Easter Sunday or Monday.
Yeah. I I would be interested what the scheduling of that would be for them. Let me ask you this before we go into break.
Okay.
Do you feel like it is, for me, I come away looking at this and saying, okay, yes, there's things about this team I think we already knew to some degree, but I think they're exacerbated in this setting, and I think that leads you to some questions about just certain guys a little more. I think Okoro is obviously under the microscope here. I think Levert is under the microscope here. I think there are just kind of concerns with some of these guys that you're banking on that have just been shown, like just have the cracks have been shown a little bit here. I think that's fair to me. I think that's what you take away from this setting. And I want to see. I want to see how these guys respond for the next game. I want to see what adjustments are made. Like, this is the time of year where I want to see that stuff, and that to me is probably the big thing. Is just kind of these underwhelming performances from guys you need to play well if you're gonna win a situation like this.
No, I absolutely agree on that. I think you do need to expect more of Isaac Okoro. You need to expect more of your role players in general, including Markkanen, who I just defended a few minutes ago. You're not going to win if you have Darius Garland doing Darius Garland things, Evan Mobley remaining a steady presence, Rajon Rondo playing the majority of the minutes in the second half, and Kevin Love being like your key bench piece. Like, you need your other role players who are younger and a little bit more steady options in the regular season. Maybe not be fazed by how big this moment is and kind of get more comfortable out there again. Because Bickerstaff kind of said it during the game, because the TNT audio from the broadcast at least said that some of those players were pressing a little bit in the first quarter. They were still pressing for the majority of the game, and I think maybe that's why Isaac got the hook as well. That and Rondo just kind of being a key factor, but it's going to be interesting. We'll talk about it in the second segment of maybe who we'd prefer them to play, but there's a lot of variables. Segment 3.
Yeah, talk about that in segment 3. The other thing I will just say is, well, no, let's get to that after the break. All right, after the break, we're going to continue talking about this game. I think there's stuff to talk about with Markkanen and talk about with Okoro. I'm going to just lead off second segment with a little bit of a not quite a rant, but just a little monologue-y thing of sorts on what is going on here, because I just have a distinct take on this.
Chris sees the new Batman once, and now is just monologuing on Mike.
Bro, I was already being sad and journaling, so, like, shouts to my guy. That was me already. But first, going to talk more about our friends at Shady Rays. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company that gives you the features of $200 sunglasses for a fraction of the price. That means polarized lenses, well-constructed durable frames, and premium high-end finishes. Also, something you won't find anywhere else is Shady Rays' Insane Protection Program. Shady Rays includes lost and broken protection on every pair. That means they will send you a brand new pair if you lose them, no matter what happened. Give them a try, and if you don't love them, you'll pay nothing. It's as simple as that. Plus, 10 meals are donated to fight hunger in America when you shop with Shady Rays. Exclusive for Locked On listeners, head to ShadyRays.com, use the promo code Locked On, and get 50% off 2 or more pairs of polarized sunglasses. Sorry, British Theory. That's code Locked On for their best deal of the season. 50% off 2 or more pairs of Shady Rays sunglasses. Backed by over 150,000 verified 5-star reviews. All right, Chris Manning, Evan
Real
Daniel
quick.
here. Yeah.
Did British Siri go, "Excuse me, you don't need sunglasses in winter because the sun never shines because it's always raining, governor"?
I don't know what that was, but I understand.
They got all the messed up teeth and stuff.
Okay, wow, you're just leaning into the stereotypes here, and I don't feel great about that. Okay, Evan, here's what I will say about this game in a little more detail.
Lay it on me, player.
I think, like, a couple things that just really stand out is, like, I look at Lauri Markkanen, and here's, again, this is not a new thing, but it's a 7-footer who, like, doesn't play like he's 7 foot. They try to go him at the rim a bunch, doesn't work. Tried him as a back line of defense and contested the rim a bunch of times, doesn't work. You have Okoro who, like, there is a push and pull between, like, I don't know, it's hard to ascribe value or intent sometimes between why guys aren't moving out of the corner and doing other stuff. But, like, Okoro and Stevens, well, I understand why you put them in the corner. That is where you feel like you can maximize whatever stretchiness from them you're going to get. The problem is then they just don't move and don't do anything. And, like, Markkanen also hides in his one spot on either wing, right? Like, he is the release valve shooter in this one specific spot. This offense just remains so static. And look, Brooklyn has the benefit of KD, has the benefit of Kyrie, has the benefit of guys like Bruce Brown who are really instinctive with the ball in their hands and all of this stuff. But, like, I don't. It's just like you watch Bruce Brown make reads to Nick Claxton in the dunker spot and throw that lob, and the chemistry there for them is like a nice release spot for them. They have all these other things, and in Cleveland, it's just like, okay, Darius, we're gonna run this. We're gonna run a couple actions. We're gonna run a couple different things, but like, you just feel so reliant on Darius and like trying to get something out of LeVert to make your offense work. Like at a certain point, it was like the most creative thing Cleveland was doing to get offense was like running Darius off of screens to get him the ball without having him bring up the ball. And it's just like I think really, like, to me, this game reinforced the idea that when we get to the summer, when the Cavs reflect on the season, I think trying to figure out an evolution of the offense to maximize the pieces they have and to make it just function a little bit better. And it's barely kind of functioning now in a lot of ways, except for when Darius is being Darius. There's work to be done, I think, there to kind of leave to make some of these things less problematic going forward for if you're them.
I absolutely agree, man.
The face you're making does not lead me to believe that you agree with me. You look kind of disgusted right now, so this is a little concerning.
So, pull back the curtains. Somebody just tried to literally glue themselves to the floor in the Timberwolves game.
Yes, that game is weird. It has too many fouls. Karl-Anthony Towns is playing crazily. Check out Locked On Wolves, check out Locked On Clippers. Back to our game.
But yeah, no, I absolutely agree. I think Bruce Brown is just an interesting archetype if your eyes get Okoro, if you want to reflect on maybe ways you can improve your game, because I'm trying to say this delicately because Isaac Okoro is a second-year player. The third year is where you expect maybe more of a leap offensively in terms of just players and his archetype, or just any player in general, really. And I have my concerns, I have my trepidations with the shot, but you watch the way Bruce Brown impacts this game, you're like, okay, maybe Isaac Okoro needs to do a little bit of that. I think he needs to tighten his handle a little bit. I also think if the Cavs had Jared Allen, it'd be a little easier for him to maybe make passes like Bruce Brown did tonight. But
that wasn't even a feature of the offense when Jared Allen was healthy. Is the thing.
No, I know, but that's what I'm saying as well. If you're JB Bickerstaff and Bruce Brown and Isaac Okoro are cut from similar cloths, and they're both JB Bickerstaff type players. If you want to maybe maximize this young defensive stud you have on the wing, whether he's a 2, a 3, whatever you play him as, maybe there's certain things you need to tell him to go work on, or maybe things you need to work on in training camp and new wrinkles you need to introduce into your offense. Like, this Brooklyn game gave the Cavs maybe a little bit of a sample size of things they can do differently, because this team, to their credit, likes to play big at times. Like, they had Bruce Brown playing the 4, but KD is the 4 in that offense, theoretically, and just in terms of size. But I am intrigued by Bruce Brown. I know you and I have kind of gone back and forth on this. Like, I think the Cavs should be targeting him in the offseason.
To be clear, I agree.
But the problem is, I say that with a caveat because he's going to get paid by some team this offseason. The Nets will not be able to retain him unless they throw the full MLE at him, and the prospect of winning a championship is more appealing than playing in Sacramento or something. But let's say he goes to a team like Sacramento. Are you going to get the same player out there because he's not playing with Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant and all these other accessory pieces that the Nets have, like the plethora of wealth they have? Ben Simmons as well. Ben Simmons will be a huge factor for them when he's healthy too. So it's an interesting thing to think about, but I think if you watch what Bruce Brown does, maybe you ask Isaac Okoro to do a little bit more of that long term. But just focusing on this game, we talked about this with the Locked On Nets guys. Andre Drummond was a factor to start the game, and he kind of remained a presence where like his just overwhelming size hurt Mobley a bit at times, but like Bruce Brown was the X factor. And shouts to the Locked On Nets guys for just saying like, well, I like pointing out saying like you can throw him on Darius Garland defensively, and you notice in the second half, especially the Cavs made a concerted effort to peel him off Garland, but he was making an impact in so many different ways that he was really he was the X factor for them. Like he was the difference maker in this game. Like, it's hard to defend Kyrie Irving for a full game. It's damn near impossible to defend Kevin Durant for a full game. It's tough. It's tough. That's all I can keep saying is it's tough.
Yeah, I just last note, I think on just the rotation and what was lacking in this one. Here's just the shooting numbers for the guys.
The shooting was abhorrent, and Rajon Rondo was too.
Well, I don't even want
someone's got to take him, but I wish it wasn't him.
Well, I don't even like some of the Rondo lane violation was like hilarious to me.
Yeah.
Like, just be extra careful there. Like, and then he was arguing about it after the game, which is funny. But just here's the shooting numbers on the Cavs' wings. I'm saying this in air quotes now. Markkanen was 5 of 14 from the field, 1 of 4 from 3. Okoro was 0 of 3 from the field, 0 of 3 from 3, including 2 missed corner threes that he took back-to-back, if I'm not mistaken. LeVert was 4 of 12, 1 of 2 from 3. And then Jetty Osman, who is nominally your scoring wing player, was 0-4 from the field, 0-2 from 3 for 2 points. It's because he had 2 free throws. So, like, it is so hard to, like, function in the modern NBA when you're getting wing stuff like that. And, like,
the Cavs don't really have wing depth.
I know, but my point is that, like, this just remains a thing that you just stare at and you go, okay, like, if you could figure this out a little bit better for next season, you're going to just be in a healthier place and kind of evaluate what this team is going to be moving forward. Okay, Evan, after the break, let's talk about Darius Garland, because I thought he was incredible. And then we'll pick between the Hawks and the Hornets on who we think the Cavs would perhaps rather face come Friday night in Cleveland. But first, you're going to tell everyone about our friends at Athletic Greens.
Today's episode of Locked On Cavs is brought to you by Athletic Greens, as Chris just mentioned, a product I use literally every day. I started taking Athletic Greens about a month ago because I wanted to take control of my health. With one delicious scoop of AG, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole-sourced food, superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start your day right. With this special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, and aging. I'm literally turning younger here, folks. It's lifestyle friendly. Whether you eat keto, paleo, vegan, dairy-free, or gluten-free, it contains less than 1 gram of sugar, no GMOs, no nasty chemicals or artificial anything, while still tasting good. It also supports better quality sleep, recovery, and mental clarity and alertness. And it costs you less than $3 a day is the best part. You're investing in your health, and it's cheaper than your cold brew habit. It's cheaper than getting all the different supplements yourself. You're investing in an all-in-one nutritional insurance and trusted by leading health experts such as Tim Ferriss, Michael Gervais, and myself, Evan Damarel. And to make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/NBA network. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/NBA network to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance.
Let me also tell you about our friends at Built Bar, the official. I don't know if it's the official protein bar of the Locked On Podcast Network.
It's the official protein bar of Chris Manning having a midday snack in the Cavs press box.
That's true. Or in the morning for the gym. There's a lot of things with Built Bars. They're all covered in 100% chocolate. Yes, 100% real chocolate. They're high protein, low cal, high fiber, low carb. Most Built Bars contain 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 grams of net carbs, and 17 grams of protein. And think about all these great flavors: mint brownie, coconut almond, and they had white cookies and cream. They just brought back blueberry muffin for a limited time. Can't really go wrong. They're all delicious, and new flavors come out all the time. They put the taste first, they make them taste delicious, and then they figure out the health later. So that is just A+ in my book. So go to Built.com, use the promo code LOCKED15 and get 15% off your order. Again, the promo code is LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com. I got to tell you, if they have cookies and cream, that's an Evan Damarel staple. Make sure you get that.
So good. The puffs are good too.
Yeah, get those when they're available. They're briny battered puffs right now, which I hear are pretty good. Okay, last segment. Let's talk about Darius Garland, because he, to me, Mobley was very good as well, I think, for the most part. But Garland, to me, 39 minutes, 34 points, 13 to 24 from the field, 3-6 from 3, 5-6 from the line, 5 assists against 6 turnovers. I think there's times you could see him trying to maybe do a little too much in offense, trying to force them past them where they're making reads that kind of caught guys off guard, or why he has 6 turnovers versus 5 assists. But then he makes plays like the hezzy he hit on Kevin Durant in the fourth quarter, where Durant switches on top of the key. He hesitated enough to get a step on Durant, get by him, and then he hits a floater before Nick Claxton and Durant can coalesce on him in the middle of the floor and kind of pincer him before he can get a shot off. He's just unbelievable. And, like, if you had any doubts about Garland, if you had any concerns about what he was going to look like in this setting, what he was going to kind of get out of this or how he would respond to this kind of situation, I think if there is a single thing that I would say that is the positive from this game, it is that I think Darius Garland just continues to look like one of those dudes that you can really do a lot of great stuff with. Like no notes except maybe the turnover
looks
stuff,
like he
but
belongs.
he's a star. This guy looks like a superstar.
He looks like he belongs. He looks like he belongs on the biggest stage in the NBA, and maybe the end of the season isn't quite the opportunity for him to fully launch into that stratosphere, but he's setting a really good foundation to launch the Cavs into something special. Like, he's got it, man. Like, we were preaching for the longest time on this show during this rebuild process after I joined the Cavs. We're searching for the guy. And I still think they have drafted him in Evan Mobley, but they may have another guy already in the wings in Darius Garland who's going to be the face of this franchise and kind of take them to the next level, and more so than he already has now. I'm not saying like a championship. I don't think that you don't want to put that pressure on this team yet, but like the onus is now like this is a playoff team.
It's too early to know what next year is going to be.
I know, but heading into next season, you and I can both agree this is a playoff team, and the Cavs.
That will be at the very least. That is the expectation now.
That is the expectation, not a play-in team, but a playoff team. As long as health and other unfortunate things don't happen to them again, but the pressure is now on President of Basketball Operations Kobe Altman, General Manager Brandon Weems, just to build around this young nucleus that they have established in Garland, Mobley, and Allen, and just fully build out around it. I keep saying this every show now, but like that's the thing. And you watch him, and he didn't seem fazed by the biggest moment. He literally said pre-game this morning during shoot-around that he was going to win this game. Like, he didn't say we, he said he was going to win this game. And you don't really say that unless you believe it. And he was really backing it up for the better part of that entire game. It's just, I think the rest of the Cavs were a little overwhelmed in this one. You saw Marketing get more comfortable. You saw Mobley get more comfortable over time. Kevin Love and Rajon Rondo have been here before as they expected, but like a lot of these players are just kind of a dud in this one, other than Garland and then Mobley to an extent as well. But Garland belongs, man. He is a superstar, and I was asked this on 92.3 the other day: is he a top 10 player yet? I think he's top 15 in the East, but he's working his way up into the top 10 conversation.
He's in that top 10 to 15, I think, conversation now.
I think 15 because you look at it, it's Harden, Embiid, KD, Kyrie, DeMar, Jimmy,
Giannis. Let me count this. Let's go back. Embiid,
Giannis, Harden, Giannis, Harden, Durant.
You already said Harden twice.
No, I'm counting him on my hand.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
I'm going to count. You list off the names. I'm going to count,
right.
Okay?
Embiid, Harden, Durant, Irving, Giannis, Butler. See, this is where it gets tricky. Beal, possibly, depending on where he ends up if he's still in Washington next year. But at this moment, yes.
See, I think Siakam,
Bam Adebayo, Siakam
are in that. I think he's in like that conversation with guys Middleton, Drew. Like he's probably a little behind those guys based on just what
I think he is like 10, 11, 12. You could make a conversation between him, Drew Holiday, and Chris Middleton. But you have Siakam, you have Bam
the Jays.
Yeah, them too. But it's tough. The Eastern Conference is just really loaded at this point. Like Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are up there too, and so is Bam Adebayo, so is Pascal Siakam. Like the East is loaded, but it's really fun to think about the idea that the Cavs have a guy who's in that conversation now. Like, and people are paying full attention to them. And I think that's what we said. Like, the expectation now is the playoffs, and I think the rest of the East and the rest of the league now expects this to be a playoff team. And I want to see how the Cavs respond to that going forward, because like this was their kind of real first taste of like, okay, this is what the playoffs are like. This is what's playing like a really good team is like. How do you respond?
Let's end on this, Evan. Let's assume no Jared Allen Friday. And, we don't know for sure yet, all that stuff, but let's just assume he does not play. Who would you rather face if you're Cleveland? The Charlotte Hornets, the Atlanta Hawks, the Cavs? To give you an idea of what we're going to do this week, those teams do not play until tomorrow at 7.
So we do not know who they play. Maybe we'll do a Locked On Now or something. Just oh, hey, they're doing this.
Yeah, and I'll likely do a crossover with one of those two shows for the Friday show. That'll some Thursday stuff, and then we're gonna do a recap of the show after the game Friday, because like that's just kind of feels like a must considering the importance of that game. So you'll hear us after this next on Friday. But Evan, who would you rather play, Charlotte or Atlanta?
Charlotte. I'd rather play Charlotte at this point if I were the Cavs, because Charlotte's biggest positional weakness is still at the big spot. I think LaMelo Ball will be tricky, but I think that's an easier task for Isaac Okoro to defend than Kyrie Irving, and having no Kevin Durant certainly helps a lot. So my pick's Charlotte. What about you?
I tend to think Charlotte as well. I think it feels like a game because they have Bridges and some other guys, but they don't have. I think they're people can tell me if I'm wrong about this. I tend to think that they have a lower quality of wing defender and guys to throw at Garland that kind of can maybe get the Cavs offense going in a certain way. I think Mobley could perhaps have a more effective offensive game, kind of using his athleticism against a guy like that. I think they kind of don't maybe have the personnel to kind of make Markkanen really work in some instances. Like I feel better about him at least like tracking Miles Bridges as a cutter than I do maybe him chasing some of the shooters Atlanta has around. So I would lean Charlotte as well. I don't think it is particularly a big deal either way. Like I think I don't think it is like such a massive difference where like if you're Boston, you probably wanted the Cavs to win because you get the Cavs instead of the Nets, right?
Yeah, and in terms of defense, Charlotte and Atlanta are fairly similar in terms of paint defense and overall defensive rating. They both stink.
Not that the Cavs have like a good defense right now. They're like not the same team that had a top 10 defense, top 5 defense,
But if if Jared Allen doesn't go and the Cavs play the Hawks, Clint Capella could be kind of a monster against Evan Mobley because he's a bigger center and Mobley struggles defending those right now.
Yeah, he's still, I think, learning it a little bit. I would say selfishly, I would like to podcast with Brad Rowland, so go Atlanta.
I like the podcast with Brad Rowland, and I'd like to watch Trae Young go toe-to-toe with Darius Garland for 48 minutes. That'd be fun.
Okoro, I mean, that's a game where, like, Okoro, like either one of those games, frankly, just considering LaMelo, considering Trae, like, those are games Okoro's gotta earn that top 5 pick pedigree and show.
He's got to earn that junkyard dog chain, man.
That way, no free ads for the company that made that chain. Okay, that's gonna be it though. Again, we're gonna be back on Friday after we know who the Cavs are gonna play. When I think do a crossover with the hosts or single host of the other show that will be in that game. Should be a fun one. It's gonna be a fun weekend. Cavs play in game. Guardians home opener on Friday. It's going to be a monster night of Cleveland sports on Friday. Kind of excited. I don't know if getting to cover some of the games when I remember being downtown the night the Cavs got their there was like a World Series game and the night they got their ring. It
was game 1 of the World Series and ring night for the Cavs. It was also my mom's birthday.
Happy much belated birthday to Evan's mom. Won't say anything rude
because
he would have right now.
Love you, Sue.
I just remember taking in the Rapid for those games and getting downtown and it just being utterly insane just everywhere. It was crazy but that's a really really cool environment to be in as someone covering sports if you're a fan of sports and crowds are locked sometimes and everything but it is really really cool. The Cavs, I mean, all this considered, this is a step forward for them. Disappointing loss to the Nets. I don't think a particularly good performance. Evan's probably a tad bit higher on it than me. We'll see where they go Friday. Evan, any final parting thoughts before we hit the eject button here?
No, not really. Just again, it's not the first time Andre Drummond played a part in keeping the Cavs out of the playoffs.
All right, Cavs lose to the Nets 115-108. They again play Friday against the winner of Charlotte and Atlanta, who play at 7 p.m. on Wednesday night. I'll talk to y'all on Friday. Be well, and
stay hydrated.
Enjoy the hoops.